Welcome to the May 31st, 2018 episode of Reactive Consciousness, our in-depth podcast about what happened this week in our lives. I am your host, Lotus Prince, and this is...
PyroJackFrost.
And Dracologist.
Welcome back, everyone, once again. So we have a few topics to talk about in this reactive, and the first one, unfortunately, is of a somber note. You may have seen this pop up in your social media feeds or something like that at this point, but the first thing we're going to discuss is the premature passing of really famous YouTuber and reviewer TotalBiscuit. It has been no secret that he's been struggling with cancer for a while, and he finally succumbed to it a few days ago, and it's just been really sad all around because he's had such a huge impact on so many people, from devs themselves to just obviously all of his followers. Now, I never really saw much of TotalBiscuit's videos. I know that he's big enough to fight back against, honestly, bullshit. Like, I know that there was a game that he reviewed poorly, and, like, a dev tried getting on his case about it and, like, targeting him directly, and it did not work out for that person because, like, you messed with the wrong neighborhood, motherfucker, like that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
So that's, super badass on TotalBiscuit's part. But otherwise, I'm afraid I'm not as very familiar with his work. Do you guys know more about him than I do?
I've seen a couple of his shows, but that's about it.
He was did these silly let's plays and insights. His most well-known series was known as WTF Is, and which was a sort of first impression videos on video games, which was probably his well-known work. He also ran the co-optional podcast, which was probably one of the later in his unfortunate his state, was the only thing apparently he could afford to do.
Yeah.
Apparently, one of my favorite things he did was during one of the escapist expos, where there was a British expatriate. Okay, help please. Expat
Expat is fine.
Yeah, expats. We get expats.
Anyway, imagine same room. Jim Stanton, also known as Jim Sterling, TotalBiscuit, and Yahtzee Croshaw.
Nice.
These three, I burned up the whole place. It was amazing. The only problem was that Jim Sterling's microphone was a little bit too loud, so he was always more volume than the others.
Oh, gotcha. But in any case, yeah, all three of them are like larger than life personalities. So that's pretty great.
He also was friends with the other YouTuber known as Jesse Cox and Yogscast. I highly recommend watching his videos where he plays Terraria with Jesse Cox or plays Magicka with the Yogscast. You will be in stitches. Both.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, it's really sad. Like, I've had people in my family who've had cancer or have, or just known people. There was one of the teachers I've worked with had a scare. He was able to get it removed, but cancer can do some real shit to you. So it's really sad. And I know that he definitely had his controversies, but a lot of people like TotalBiscuit's work.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's one of those things too, like, no matter how much you hate someone, you wouldn't want to wish stuff like that on them. So I'm hoping even people who didn't like his work aren't thinking stupid thoughts right now, if you know what I mean.
Pretty much. I mean, like, I know that there are detractors, and I've seen some, but the majority of what I've seen has been more supportive.
But yeah, so it's a sad topic. So why don't we talk about something a little bit more more fun.
From a somber note to a more benign one.
Yeah. So yeah, of course, from that topic we can go to a bit of a different one. One thing I do want to do, that this is regarding last week's recon, where I was talking about how some quote not safe for work. Well, I guess they are not safe for work, but some quote offensive games.
Yeah, but it's still like
of the poor in persuasion are being removed from Steam. So What I want to get at with this is I do need to make a bit of a correction. I had mentioned last week that Freedom Planet was also under fire. It is not. This was because of a misinterpretation on my part. I had said that I had gotten a lot of the information I had from a forum post. Well, I had read a different forum post from actually one of the people who had helped create Freedom Planet. And this person had said, and I quote, like, they've gone after Freedom Planet too. And I misread that. This person actually provided a screenshot for context, and, like, it just didn't click with me. Like, I blew it. What had happened was Steam did not go after Freedom Planet. When this person said they went after Freedom Planet too, she was referring to some anti-porn advocacy group who just complains about things they don't understand.
Gotcha.
And Freedom Planet was one of those. So she linked to, like, some post on Steam that's like, this game is reprehensible and blah, blah, blah. And it was a bunch of whining that didn't amount to anything. So that's what she meant by they went after Freedom Planet. This anti-porn advocacy group did, but Freedom Planet is not at risk of being removed from Steam. So that's the good news. That said, though, if you haven't bought it, I still recommend picking up Freedom Planet.
Yeah.
It's the best Sonic the Hedgehog game since, like,
That
Sonic
doesn't
3
have
and
Sonic.
Knuckles.
That doesn't have Sonic the Hedgehog. It's basically a passing of the torch, the good
Yeah.
way. It's not
Like, I mean, so, yeah,
like number
Sonic
9.
Mania came back and was good, but, like, Freedom Planet was, like, one of the few good Sonic the Hedgehog games, quote, Sonic the Hedgehog games, in a long time. It's actually really clever.
I'm a little bit saddened that such a pearl-clutching people can actually, like, make such a knee-jerk reaction from Steam. Like,
Yeah.
they not even looked into it.
Well, the good news is that they didn't. This is in response to, like, that law that we had discussed last time that was against not only sex trafficking, but, like, anything that might in some way contribute to it, including passing money through PayPal, and PayPal's connected to Steam, and Steam would rather overcompensate than risk, coming under fire for something, even though it would be obviously wrong. So
Yeah, but at the same time, Steam is the host of a fucking money laundering business.
Yeah, right.
Cheap
By the way, here's something else. I don't know if I really don't know if this is coincidence or not, but, like, the day after, or maybe 2 days after this thing on Steam was announced, all of a sudden, GOG announced a bunch of discounts and some new, like, visual novel style games. I thought that was pretty funny, like, including Higurashi. And so that I just thought that was kind of funny. It's just like, now here's a bunch of visual novels. If you can't get them there, you can get them here. Like, I suspect that's not a coincidence, but I'm not 100% on that. But either way, it's kind of funny to me.
Also, like, just one thing about this anti-whatever group, like, they actually wanted to go after things like Witcher 3 and Andromeda, well, not Andromeda, the Mass Effect series. Like,
The Witcher, I mean, again, like
good luck.
Go fuck yourself. But, like, The Witcher, I can understand, because, like, women were literally trophies in the first game, like those playing cards.
I forgot
Mass
about
Effect
that.
is, yeah. In Mass Effect, or not in Mass Effect, in Witcher 2, it was still for swag, but, like, well, I mean, it was still for swag. There's no mincing words on that. But, like, they didn't become physical objects. Witcher 3 I haven't played, so I have no comment. But Mass Effect, though, was all about consensual sex with, like, that one romantic partner you wanted to hook up with. So, like, and there's not even any nudity. It's just, like, you make out or something and it fades to black.
Did you play The Witcher 3 yet?
No, I haven't even started it.
Oh, like, I think like, I've seen both of, like, it's two sort of open quote sex scenes, but both of them, like, had some part that made me, like, had this little sound on me when you stifle a muted laugh.
Oh.
It was amusing. There's something funny happened that was very, very, like, cheered me up.
I mean, I will say The Witcher does show, like, nudity, unlike Mass Effect, but even then, like, it's still consensual sex, which
Of course,
it's like debatable whether you would even call that porn, and Mass Effect is just a hard no.
Like,
Witcher, there's frontal nudity. Mass Effect, there's just not. Like, I don't know what you want from me here, anti-porn advocacy group. But yeah. Otherwise, a couple quick things to bring up. One of them is some good news and bad news. I don't know, maybe you guys have heard about this from, like, something like last year, But you know how like a lot of people in Hollywood, like a lot of our childhood idols turns out were freaking like sexual like molesters and things like that. Like it's just like, oh god, it just keeps fucking piling on. Well, last year there was word that there was like an accusation or an allegation, I forget which word's more appropriate, that George Takei had come on to like a guy in an inappropriate way, and only a few days ago at the time of this recording it has been made clear by the accuser himself that it was made up. So, good news and bad news about this. The good news is that George Takei's off the hook. Like, I'm quite happy about that. That actually would have really been a blow. But the bad news is, I mean, I'll start with what isn't really the news, but like it's kind of like what a reprehensible piece of shit this person is. Like, obviously, like how fucked up do you have to be to make like a fake sexual harassment or molestation or rape accusation? Like, only like the most like despicable, worthless pieces of human shit would even consider doing something like that, because that's a life ruiner. Like, and I think Takei did lose some sponsorships because like nobody wants to touch that kind of thing. Even if they're wrong, it's like better to err on the side of caution.
Now remember
So,
what
like,
you said about those people, and think about that, how easy it is to accuse someone of this.
Oh, I know. Like, it's super easy. Like, literally anyone can do it. But the thing is, people generally don't, because like you better be able to back that shit up, because that's a strong accusation. Like, if you're lying, then like, man oh man, I hope you're dealt with in really hardcore ways, because like this is no joke. Now, when it comes to the actual bad news, because it's not really news that this person's scum, but for what the actual bad news is, and this is going to sound redundant at first, but give me a second. So the bad news is that this was a false rape accusation, which means that yes, false rape accusations do, or sexual harassment, whatever it was, false sexual misconduct accusations do exist. And why this is bad news is that this diminishes the impact of legitimate rape accusations. Like, remember when Bill Cosby started to be accused and everyone was like, oh, come on, no way. Like, that's too unbelievable. But, like, this accusation, in fact, is not to be believed. The George Takei one. So, like, the fact that there are false accusers out there means that now people might be a little more guarded when they hear any kind of accusation. Like, are you also a liar? Because like a lot of that goes around. Like, maybe they're lying, and a lot of it's probably just people being dicks because I'm a fan of that celebrity's work, so I'm gonna side with them regardless. But if there actually is cause to not believe the accusation, that can actually really have pretty heavy impacts across the entire community of people who have been in situations of this sort. Now, I do understand that making a false accusation of this kind, that's a really bold and risky move. So honestly, I don't think that's the kind of thing that would happen en masse. But, like, it could, though. And at the very least, some more people could start doing it. So I really do hope that anyone who does make accusations of this sort, if they are lying, are punished quite severely. Like, to the point where, like it's more than a slap on the wrist. Like, I could do it again if I'm willing to deal with the consequences. Like, a night in jail? I can do a night in jail. Like, I want this punishment to be, like, something that's very much a dissuasion, if that's a word.
Well, yeah, I was going to say that
usually.
it's... I could see people not wanting to think that someone that they might like as a fan of a person might not want to see them in that light. Take celebrity
I mean,
A,
it's rough.
Yeah, take celebrity A. If they were accused and I was a huge fan, I'd be like, I don't want to see them as someone who would do that. But
well, yeah, because if you go back and watch their movies, it's colored very differently.
Yeah,
like, you know, like I mean, Harvey Weinstein isn't in his movies, but like you're watching this brilliantly made Harvey Weinstein movie, and you're like, the guy who made this is a fucking creep.
But I think
it's just not the same.
What's worse than thinking like that is the people who would falsely accuse, and we knew this was going to happen. it was going to happen eventually because
well, it
someone
has happened,
wants.
but like now to a
it's
Someone
an
wants
efficient
the
weapon
limelight.
to completely throw off someone their pedestal. Again,
exactly.
well,
And the problem with this is that even if it is proven false, the stigma is still there. Like, Pyro, I know you would particularly appreciate this, as would I, but, like, in the education fields, like, if teachers are ever accused of shit like this by students, like, they have a black mark forever, even if it obviously turns out to be a lie. Like, it was clearly a lie, but everyone's like, yeah, but I heard that you were a creep. Even though, like, it's one of those things. Like, even when you know it's not true, like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, I know that the spider in my house is 100% harmless, but it's just like, no, I hate spiders.
Yeah, but it's like the
it's
false
like
accusations are worse than anything because one, it makes the people who
it literally
accuse
ruins lives.
Yeah, well,
yes,
the people who
but
accuse, then you think like, are they falsely accusing? And it just like ruins everything. And there's no
exactly.
benefit.
It diminishes like the Me Too movement.
Yeah, there's actually like
for
no
example.
benefit for falsely accusing someone, especially because if you get caught, I mean, that's you brought up a good point before.
Well, no,
there
there is. It's just to fuck them. Like, it's just to fuck them over.
But,
like, and,
yeah.
and it will work.
I
but like,
do want to say
you'd better be willing to go all in.
Yes, like I do want to say that those who are turned into creeps, we're talking about Hollywood. Like this is the number one enabler for people doing something absolutely nonsense. And I'm fairly sure you can line up every single actor and musician, whatever, what have you, to show off that people just eventually turn into absolute creeps or crazy people. They always need. Well, basically, if we're going back to the Warhammer effect, we're talking about Slaanesh. We need more and more and more intense, and eventually we do something really, really stupid.
Like, I can only imagine how many people in Hollywood are creeps or have been creeped on. Like, that number's got to be freaking crazy. Or I don't even know what the number, but like the percentage has to be ridiculous.
We're putting the terms very mildly, mind you. And what I wanted to say that fake accusations, well, we living the day and age of this act of false accusation being very, very potent, very, very high. Everyone likes to throw around smear other people's, trying to drag their name.
Well, there is that, but false rape accusations are still pretty rare. So it's like it's rough when you do come across one. I mean, everyone accuses everyone of everything, but like molestation, like that's a big deal.
Yeah, and like I think they just need to make the punishment worse for people who falsely accuse others because you need to have some. Because I think like there is like because you can it's slander. I think that can be considered slander. And,
that is slander.
So the fact that I don't know what the punishment is, but it should be severe enough that if someone is caught doing that, then it's like shit. Like I shouldn't do this.
Yeah. Because here's the thing, I had seen something regarding the Bill Cosby case where like a bunch of the detractors of the accusers, one of the excuses they would use is like, oh, they're just trying to get famous. Like you would ever want to get famous for that shit. And so like I saw like a retort to that, which is like, can you name any of them? Because there's like 30. Do you know any of their names? No. Guess they weren't doing it to get famous then. Honestly, even though like you would want probably the opposite thing to happen for mass shooters, I do think that you should make famous the false accusers. Like, this guy tried fucking up somebody's life. Just thought you should know what his name and face are. Because, like, with mass shooters, a lot of them do it, like, well, a lot of them, like, I know. But, like, at least some of them have done it specifically to get on the news. But, like, a false accuser, they're like, nah, fuck you, man. All over the news. You're that dirtbag. Like, I think people should know who it is. In cases like that. I get the feeling that my thoughts could probably backfire at some point. I wouldn't be surprised, but at least at this point, nah man, fuck you, like don't hire this guy, you know, like that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Like you want to ruin somebody's life for no apparent reason, like see how you like it. Otherwise, I have one brief thing to mention, and this is actually a really cool thing, like a radical change of subject, but this is super cool. I didn't expect this at all.
Yeah.
Suda 51 is at the time of this recording, I think, in MomoCon in Georgia, and you know, very appropriate name for Georgia, by the way. Do you guys know what Momo means?
No.
peach.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Really?
And
Good to know.
Georgia
peach.
Oh man,
Is the peach country?
it is like it's one of those places. Like my dad's been there for business, I think, and like depending where you are, like every street, like you're gonna want to turn a right on Peachtree Street and then left on Peachtree Road. It's like they love their peaches. So Momocon, like Momocon, bingo. Like why didn't I think of that? So yeah, so Suda51, you know, the guy.
I do want to ask, do they also produce apricots?
That I'm not 100% on.
I do like my apricots.
Maybe, but I don't know. But anyway, like Suda51, you know, of Grasshopper manufacture, you probably know the guy, right? The guy made Killer 7, No More Heroes.
He also worked with a few Hungarian developers to make, for example, Cinemora.
Oh, no kidding! That was partly Hungarian.
Yeah, and along with, I think they also made Black Knight Sword. I think
Black Knight Shooter. I think.
No, that's Black Rock Shooter.
Black Rock Shooter, Black Knight. Excuse me. Okay, you got me. Yeah, that one is on PSN. Cinemora, I believe, is also on PSN, but they did release that physically eventually. But yeah, so Suda51 is at Momocon. And apparently he casually dropped this announcement like it ain't no thing. And people were like, wait, what? But he posted it on his Instagram and it was all over Twitter a little while ago. But out of nowhere, I would not have guessed this, Killer 7 is going to come out on Steam.
Yeah,
which is freaking sweet.
When I saw the news of Killer 7, I saw it as like, I was thinking like, oh cool, they're gonna port it to a new system, and I'm like, okay, that's fun. But but then I saw that they were releasing it on PC, and I'm like, shit, like I'll actually I played it when it was on PS2. Was that what it was?
Yeah,
PS2?
PS2 and GameCube. Yeah,
and I got like to the second world, whatever you want to call it. But I never beat it because I rented it.
Okay.
Or whatever the Japanese like themed world or whatever it was.
Yeah, that Zen Garden looking place with the wooden bridge and stuff, the restaurants.
Yeah, so I got there and I never beat it because I rented it. I had to return it before I could beat it.
Sure.
So I'm actually going to get a chance to play it now.
Yeah, because the thing with these games is that, like, Lollipop Chainsaw was released on everything at the time, except for, you know, PC. Shadows of the Damned also was released on PS3 and 360. You know,
I want that on PC, actually.
You can get it. Yeah, the Killer is Dead was released on PS3, 360, and PC. No More Heroes was a Wii game, but it got a version on PS3, and if you have a Wii U, you could still play it. But Killer 7... that's a game that people who played it generally liked, but it was kind of underground at the time because Grasshopper hadn't become more well-known. So, like, it was very easy to miss Killer 7. Like, there are lots of people who are like, let's look at Suda51's old stuff. Like, Killer 7, shucks, too bad I don't have that system to play it on. But guess what? You do now! So, you could actually get some Killer 7 gaming on in the, I think, relative near future. I guess I should have kind of seen this coming because I think we mentioned before that the free-to-play game on PS4, Let It Die, had some Killer 7 related stuff released for it recently. I guess that was a kind of foreshadowing instead of just a blast to the past. Like, remember my old game? Like, no, we're doing this.
I'm wondering...
It's kind of like Flower Sun Rain is like the sequel to Silver Case, and we finally got the Silver Case.
I'm wondering if this means that they're going to start porting other of his games, because, like, I've only ever I've played Killer 7, and I've wanted to play the other ones, but I feel like I'd be more likely to play them if they're on PC.
I can see that.
I would not try Killer 7 on the PC because, well, first of all, if the aiming would happen with the mouse, then it would make the Evanist mouse an absolute joke. Because
that is true. Killer 7 was designed for you to be bound by the speed of your aim with a control stick. But even so, I don't even mind because there are some enemies later on that get kind of irritating with the timing.
So yes.
But I was just gonna say, I feel like when you're bounding, like, because I think that's more like the slow speed of the system, let's say, more so than granted, they made the
Oh,
gameplay.
the set
They
speed.
probably might make it where if you're playing with the mouse, then you just have to be quicker. Like they can change something else about the game to make up for the speed of
Maybe.
the mouse.
Actually, one thing I'm excited about, and I didn't even really think about it, but like just plain. I know this is probably the first thing most people have thought of, but my first thought was, oh, Killer 7's on a new platform. But like HD widescreen Killer 7, like yeah. And what's cool about Killer 7 is that the whole game is cell shaded, so it's not going to look dated. It's like, oh, yup, that's a GameCube game, all right. Like it's a like I like as far as visuals are concerned, I think it'll age perfectly well because it was a stylized look then, it's a stylized look now. It's like Cuphead. Like you're not gonna play the game in 10 years and be like, oh, these graphics. Like no, Cuphead has a very specifically designed look that it's gonna look the same 10 years from now as it looks now.
I think Cuphead could not be done with early days.
I mean, Cuphead was literally drawn and animated, so
yes,
that's a bad
but
example.
I just wanted
but
to
you know
say
what
that
I mean.
the amount of animations put into the game would have been like it would take up like 5 discs.
Oh, for real. But I mean, what I mean is that like if you play a straight Wii game, like if you like No More Heroes got an HD version on PS3, but like if you play the Wii game, if you go back and play the Wii game now, the graphics look like it's from a Wii game. But Killer 7, it's harder to tell. Like that game could have been released today. Like Killer is Dead looks pretty similar to Killer 7.
Mm-hmm.
I do. Just someone mentioned like they might port other Suda games to PC, and I actually would like to play Shadow of the Damned because that looks.
Shadow of the Damned is okay as far as gameplay is concerned. I actually found that the least interesting, but the game's writing is kind of where it's at. The entire game is just giant set of dick jokes.
Yeah, I might get shit on for saying this because I did watch Shadows of the Damned at Vice's place. I think I watched him play a little bit of it. Same with Lollipop Chainsaw.
Yeah, I did that too,
and
actually.
my general consensus with Suda51 games is they're interesting, but they're not that great always. But they have like really
that's
cool
always
ideas.
The case. They usually have okay gameplay. Like there's usually something that prevents it from appealing to a wide audience. Like everybody's gonna go buy Grand Theft Auto. Not everybody is gonna go buy Shadows of the Damned. But there always is something quirky and weird about Suda51 games that keeps you coming back.
I never bought Grand Theft Auto.
What was it? What was the Dracologist?
Just everybody bought Grand Theft Auto. I didn't.
Well, I didn't either, but you know what I mean. And as far as when I was saying every Suda51 game has some weird quirk that keeps you coming back, that quirk is different across every game, but there is one quirk that's the same across every game, which is the bosses. The bosses are always weird and interesting. Killer 7, every single boss fight plays differently. Mm-hmm. No More Heroes was based on the old Mexican movie El Topo, the first half of that movie anyway. And if you ever watch that movie, you can tell. Like, you play No More Heroes just for the bosses, to the point where the gameplay between is intentionally boring. So it's actually dull. So when you get to the boss, not only is it a relief, but the bosses are so wild and crazy that, like, you would have been in a good mood anyway. Lollipop Chainsaw probably is the Suda51 game with the most mainstream appeal. That's probably the most accessible Suda51 game. Just run around, chop stuff up with the chainsaw. It's very video gamey, and the writing's funny, and there's musical references everywhere. Shadows of the Damned is basically
Resident Evil 4.
Shadows of the Damned is Resident Evil 5. It has Resident Evil 5 controls with Suda51's like writing. That's pretty much the game. It's Resident Evil 5 with like crazy bosses and crazy writing. And Killer is Dead has a lot of nods to Killer 7, but it plays like its own thing. And again, its bosses are insane.
Killer is Dead feels like No More Heroes and this is a Killer 7 was mixed together.
Yeah, it plays like No More Heroes. Yeah, it does. It plays kind of like No More Heroes, and it has a lot of nods to Killer 7, like using blood and stuff like that. But like crazy bosses, there's a demon train.
Yeah, everyone remembers that.
Can you suplex it?
No, but there is this. The crazy demon head that comes out looks just like the creepy demon head with the long teeth from The Thing. And also, the demon train's name is Thomas. get it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, like Killer is Dead has some pretty insane bosses. They're a lot of
This is
fun.
Mr. Conductor speaking.
Yeah. I still have to play Sinmora, and I don't even own
I've
Black
played
Knight
it. It was really
Sword.
hard. Like it's a pretty decent shooter, but it has a cool mechanic because you can like turn back time like a little bit. Like you have a bar of energy you can turn back time with, and that like you're limited.
Oh, that's very Prince of Persia Sands of Time.
But it gets really really hard.
Okay. I don't know. I sadly never played it, but I know that the whole currency of the game is time. Like if you die, you lose time. If you win, you get time, and you are constantly on the clock.
Oh, brutal. And I will say, there are, I think, a couple of Suda51 games we never got. Vice told me there was one I forgot the name of, where it's like baseball in hell. It's like insane baseball. Flower and Sun Rain we got in the DS, but there's a PS2 version we did not get. There's, oh no, I forgot what it's called. Like Moonlight Symphony or Moonlight something that we never got that Killer 7 made a reference to. That was weird. Like, I'm playing a level in Killer 7 and this anime scene comes up, and it has seemingly nothing to do with the plot, and it's just weird. And it turns out that was a shout-out to a game we didn't get. So it's like, oh, okay. We finally got the silver case. I can't even believe it. That's amazing. There's Fatal Frame 4 was actually a Grasshopper Manufacture game.
Oh,
yeah, and Suda51 said, like, he was so kind of tired of the process of making the game that he, like, can't even bring himself to play it anymore. But that game, because he was like, I don't know if I'm into horror, even though Killer 7 kind of borders on horror a little bit. Damned. Yeah.
Suda made one game that was like you play like some sort of cameraman in sort of this.
Oh, you're right. Michigan Report from Hell.
That.
Yeah, that one was funny. Apparently, there was an interview with some. I don't know if it was English or somewhere in Britain, like the UK, but somebody was interviewing Suda51, and I think they had broached the subject of Michigan Report from Hell, and I think Suda had said something like, oh, it's pretty cool that you know about that one, because that's like Japan exclusive, and the guy was like, no, it's not. It was released in Europe. Like, I have a copy right here. And Suda was like, what? That's, like, hilarious. I actually imported an English copy myself.
Oh, really? And that was, I think, like, I heard about this game. I don't know a title that where you are playing, like, a professional wrestler. Like
I forgot about that, too. Fire Pro Wrestling. He worked on a few of those.
Oh, he did?
You have, like, go through your life of a wrestler.
Work, yeah. I don't know about the new games, but he was in, like... I think he was in, like, maybe the Super Nintendo one? He was in some of the old school Fire Pro Wrestling. I don't know enough about that one to talk about it with any kind of real knowledge. That's maybe more of a Vice thing. But, yeah, some of his oldest work is among the Fire Pro Wrestling games. And his love for wrestling shows, man. Like, you play as a wrestler in Killer 7, like one of the Killer 7.
Oh, yeah.
Smith. No More Heroes. Your throws, like your grappling moves, are all weird, elaborate wrestling moves that you learn from someone who is like probably Masked Smith. Like the letters he gives you are always signed MS, and you're like Lollipop Chainsaw. I don't remember wrestling so much. Shadows of the Damned, I'm not 100% about either, to be honest.
I think you mostly stomped enemies there.
Yeah, I think he kind of comes off it later, but he clearly has a love of wrestling, and it kind of carries through anyway. Like, Travis is a freaking badass with that wrestling stuff.
Like, I think there was a little bit of a missing there in Shadow of the considering the whole Mexican team, you could throw in some lucha libre.
Yeah, Garcia fucking Hotspur, which may actually be his name. Like, he always says, my name is Garcia fucking Hotspur, and, like, they do confirm his middle initial is F, so you're like, maybe that's actually the case? It's kind of great. Like, they never really spell it out for you, but, like, he is for sure Garcia F. Hotspur, so it's like, yes.
I would like to see a new Shadow of the Damned game. With slightly better mechanics, more dick jokes.
More dick jokes? Can you have more dick jokes?
Yeah, you can never have enough
Jesus Christ, dude, like...
You can never have enough dick jokes.
More than, like, everything being a dick joke.
But, yeah, probably a little bit longer game, I think, because Shadows of Damned was a little bit short, on the short end.
I don't really care about the length. What I do care
joke.
about... Oh, what I do care about, though, is that there were these 3... What?
The girth.
The birth, yeah. No, what I do care about were that there were these 3, like, Grim Reaper Sisters of Death, and, like, I said all the bosses in Wild and Crazy, and they are no exception, but their boss fights were too similar to each other, to the point where I killed the first sister, and I fought the second, and I didn't realize I was fighting the second. I thought it was Sister 1, the Revenge, and it was like, after I beat the second sister fight, your buddy Johnson, was like, there's only one sister left, and I was like, wait, what? What happened to the second sister? That was the second sister? But otherwise, the boss fights are pretty sweet in that game, especially the first one.
Maybe there is just one sister.
Boss is brilliant.
The drifter guy with the harmonica, right?
The harmonica guy. That was fucked up. Pyro, do you know about the harmonica guy?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, like, it's super creepy. For the listeners, there's this guy who had a harmonica just, like, jammed down his throat. So, like, when he breathes, the air going through his windpipe goes through the harmonica as well. So there are parts where, like, you're kind of in a sort of labyrinthine arena where, like, you want to find him and hope he doesn't find you first. So it's actually really unnerving if he's right behind you and you don't quite know it, and he's huffing and puffing to get to you, and you just hear little, like, and you hear, like, little puffs of a harmonica. Like, it's more off-putting than you might think. It's, like, it's genuinely freaky. It's just like, that shouldn't be. That was probably, like, the most memorable boss in the game. Even though a lot of the bosses were cool, that guy was something else. That was amazing. Oh, and I forgot to mention, Suda51 also loves ghouls and ghosts, because you do, like, when you go to the 2D shooter areas, it shows you, like, the map of, like, where you need to go, like the map screens of Ghouls and Ghosts or Ghosts and Goblins. You know, when it shows the whole game panning across the map, where it's like, this is where you need to be, like, da 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 da, like the pre-level thing. You get that in the shooter area, and there's a boss in Killer is Dead, the DLC, who looks like the final boss of Ghosts and Goblins, where he has the giant face on his chest as well as his actual face, and you're like, what?
Oh yeah, the bonus mission.
Yeah. What was that guy's name in Ghouls and Ghosts, or Ghosts and Goblins? Was that Lucifer?
Something.
It was some related, like, actual devil name. Yeah, but yeah, the
like
guy who
the last mission on what was that called? Killer is Dead was a little bit upsetting, because the last cutscene was like, calls Hungary an Eastern European country. We are Middle European. I'm a little bit upset.
That is kind of frustrating. I can only imagine, like,
but at least
how that must happen all the time to other countries, where it's like, how do I know I'm in England? There's the Big Ben, because, like, that's all England is. It's like, okay. Like,
anyway,
there's so much of that in Mania.
But at least they mentioned that Hungary has a good wine, which is nice.
Hey, but it doesn't matter, because you do not drink.
I do not drink this mantra.
Oh, it's funny every time. But anyway, Pyro, I see there's a mention of Transformers in this reactive. Do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, so there's a question. I say Transformers 7 question mark. The reason why I bring this up is I've been actually trying to finish with my Transformer comics. I bought like one of the collected editions.
Oh, the IDW
yeah,
ones?
Yeah. I'm like on.
Oh no, which one is it? The Visionaries one?
The which one?
The Transformers versus Visionaries.
No.
Oh, thank God.
It's I don't remember where it's like chapter 30 something of More Than Meets the Eye, or what's in it. I don't remember where, but I was looking online about just Transformers news, and this is both good news for some people, bad news for some people. I think for me it's good news. They might not be doing a Transformers 7.
you mean like the movie?
Yeah. So
okay.
Like they've released up to 5. They're making a Bumblebee movie. That's
didn't the main numbered movies, like 5 and 6 especially, didn't they start to get like weaker international reception?
They're only up to 5.
Only 5?
The Bumblebee
well,
movie
didn't they
is considered, let's say, 6, and that's probably still
okay.
But
didn't like 5 have like a particularly weak, like, even international reception?
I don't recall. I think so.
Because I think with the Transformers movies, they've gotten, like, okay in America, but they still get enough of, like a Chinese audience, for example, that it's like, well, we'll keep making them. But I heard 5, like, even in that regard, was like, eh.
I have no idea. But I saw news that I think the way that it was worded was they canceled the release date of 7. So it might just be pushed because they're having trouble with it, or it could be that they're not making it.
An actual hard cancel.
Yeah, 2 things about this is, one, Michael Bay has for like the past like 2 movies said that that's his last Transformers movie, so he might actually be done. One,
honestly, like, I don't blame him. Like, even if you're good at it, unless you're really that passionate, it's like, dude, I'm getting sick of this.
But
like, it's like Peter Jackson with the Hobbit trilogy. It's like he was kind of burned out.
But also, I think that
he wants to make more gory zombie movies.
Yeah,
I think that they want to reboot the movie franchise, which I actually hope they do, because I think they're really starting to see how Transformers, like the fans, the Transformers fans, didn't really like the movies that much. They were okay movies. They weren't great.
Here's
but
the problem with the Transformers movies. The problem with it is that making the big explosions, fight scenes, and rendering the animations onto the real world is incredibly expensive. Now, the Transformers movies should be always about the Transformers, and the problem is that if they would constantly do that, it would cost even more. And because of that, you had to constantly cut to Shia LaBeouf screaming at something or being absolutely stupid, which the fans didn't like because they come to see giant robot fights, not just some.
Although that said, speaking of the giant robot fights, like, I only really saw the first movie, and I've seen little clips online of some of the others, but like, I can't see shit. Everything's just metal hitting metal, and like, I know that robots hitting robots is metal hitting metal, but like, I can't tell one thing from another. It's just like a bunch of weird shit on screen happening. Like, I guess it's a fight.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
I don't know.
I honestly don't think it has to be. I mean, obviously you're gonna want to see big robots fighting, but the story of Transformers is not just the fighting, and it's also
the comics have like actually good stories, don't they?
Okay, wanted to say, can I continue, Pyro, or do you want to say?
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that 90 minutes is not enough to introduce every beloved character in a Transformers movie. Like,
well, no, of course not. But you could adapt the comics, though.
Yes,
but you don't need that. Like, there's 5 main Transformer characters on the Autobots, let's say, and 3 or 4 on the Decepticons. That's all you really need. And the thing is, that'll leave you open for sequels. The other thing that I think annoyed some fans is how quickly they killed off characters in Transformers to introduce new ones. And I think, honestly, they could just have it be about, like, Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, Ratchet, Prowl, and, like, that's it on the Autobots, and have X many movies with just those 3 people. You don't have to keep introducing newer and newer. I know it sells toys, but they have a TV show too. They have many different avenues. They don't need to rely on the movie solely for the toys. But I heard they're rebooting it. I don't know if it's going to be still a teenage romance movie like the first 2 movies were, or...
Honestly, I don't even care if it is a teenage romance movie. I just hope they don't have so much low-hanging toilet humor. And like immature jokes. It's just like...
But that's Michael Bay.
Dude.
That's the other reason why I'm glad that Michael Bay might no longer
exactly.
be
It's
directing.
like, could you please not? Mm-hmm. Yeah. With like the with the awkward parents talking about, are you having sex? And it's like, oh, that would be awkward if that happened to me. It's like, that's not funny. It's just annoying.
I hope if they do reboot it that they like rethink the strategy and really think about the audience.
Like, honestly, in the first movie, I liked the soldier guy better than the kid. So
yeah, definitely.
Like having humans actually being viable members of the Autobots, or like fighting the Decepticon or what have you, and not just being like this screaming cat tied to a rocket effect.
Yeah, it's not that I don't like humans in Transformers. There's plenty of the comics that have good humans in the Transformers. It's that I don't want the
in
humans
the movie
to be,
and the old cartoon. They're
Yeah.
like poorly written.
I don't want the humans to be like the main, not a main character. I don't want them to be the focus, let's say, of the movie.
Yeah.
They're good as secondary, tertiary characters, but not main characters.
Yeah.
The only reason why they had Spike and Daniel, I think his name was, in the original cartoon, is because you wanted to have someone that the people who were watching it could relate to. But the main movie, the main show was about the robots.
No, but even this, like, having someone you could relate to, like, it was a dumb decision then, too. It's like, I'm watching a show about fucking fighting robots. Like, I don't, like...
Turn into
do I look like someone who needs to be related to? I won't understand this without some little kid tagging along. And not only that, but the little kids, like, didn't they usually just kind of distract anyway? Like, it's not like, now for the little kid subplot, like, weren't they just straight up, like, taking away from the plot a lot of the time? It's like, they're in danger, put them aside or whatever. It's like...
I think it wanted to touch that even so the small and seemingly insignificant can have an important part in the plot. Or like,
if they did have an important part in the plot, then fine. But like a lot of the time, it's just like, here's a little kid because you're a little kid and you're watching the show. It's like, thanks. Like, it's called Transformers. If I wanted to watch a show about kids, then like there's more than enough of those too.
But it's like, I find just in general with Transformers, it's hard being a fan sometimes because Hasbro has the market on Transformers, but I don't know if they... It's interesting because I watched the How It's Made, the Toys That Made Us episode just came out.
That's right, yeah.
About Transformers, and it was actually really good. I didn't know... I mean, I knew that it was based off a Japanese toy. I knew the whole story, but...
Yeah, the funny thing is, in retrospect, if you look at the back of some of the old Transformers boxes, when you see the art, which is like drawn, that's kind of old school anime-ish. Like in retrospect, you can kind of tell.
But it's like they have a great property, but it seems like a lot of times they don't know what to do with it. For instance, like the movies, the cartoons are usually pretty good. I have nothing to say about that. The fact that the Hasbro license and Activision like stopped happening, so then they just took off the games from everywhere is like, come on, like Hasbro, you got to make this work too.
Are you talking Platinum, or excuse me, are you talking Devastation with Platinum, or like even the old one, like War for Cybertron and stuff?
I think you can't even buy those anymore.
I actually have Fall for Cybertron.
I saw a little bit of that and it looked pretty cool.
I mean, you can if you have them,
it's all right. It's a bit Call of Duty-ish, but it's all right.
If you have them, you can play them, but I don't know if you can buy the Cybertron
might be on PS3 or something.
You can buy the physical versions because they already made them, but they're not making any more. And same as you cannot buy them digitally. Plus,
no, of course not.
I gotta go to toy stores and I see always such a limited. So this could be two ways. I always see such a limited selection of Transformers in stores. It could be because kids are lapping them up and I'm not getting there in time, which would be great. But I think it's just because I don't know if it's just that no one buys them anymore except for fans. I don't know if kids buy them as much anymore, but I feel like it's such a good property. They have to find a way to use it well. Yeah.
Transformer toys. I actually saw, sometimes I go to the toy store just to look around, but I saw Transformer toys, but they're not actually the toys I would like to buy, because they kind of just like, here's some frame you can stick stuff onto, and like here's just a model of a standing. I
as opposed to like an actual thing that transforms.
Yes, like I once saw the anime. I think it was the Energon version of Tidal Wave, the Decepticon in the battleship, and like it was, the robot was big as tall as my like computer right now, and it looked awesome. And like I miss kind of big robots with intricate little transform mechanisms added to it. Like I remember, like I'm not sure it was a transformer, but it was some sort of similar transforming robot toy. Like old friend of mine had like a truck that was towing this missile carrier, and like a missile carrier had this little 6-shooter, almost Gatling-like weapon that you could turn the backside. It would fire each little spring-loaded peg out.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's funny because I have some Transformer toys at work, like by my desk. But they're like the small ones though, the ones that like take like four moves to transform.
Oh yeah, there were.
Oh, I have
And
one of those
I remember
too.
a couple of
It's
those.
funny
yeah.
because like I feel like I like those more than the bigger ones because I can just quickly transform them. And like while I'm
Yeah,
thinking,
it's almost like a stress ball or something. You
Yeah,
just quickly
exactly.
like turn
You
it
have
into
to.
it back, turn it
You
into it back.
may have to buy a fidget cube then.
I have a fidget cube, but I usually end up just transforming my Transformers back and forth.
Oh well.
It almost makes me think of like a 10-piece Lego set. Just quickly put it together, take it apart. It's fine.
But yeah, like I have my collection, and I have to find. And the other thing that's annoying is I have my collection, but the ones I'm missing, I look for on like Amazon because I can't find them in stores. But because they didn't make that many, they're like selling for twice the cost. I'm like, I'm not gonna. I'm a collector, but I'm gonna spend the amount of money they're worth, not what people think they're worth.
Yeah. I mean, if you buy them at scalp prices, then you're only encouraging scalping.
So I just keep looking every now and wait till they're normal price, then buy them. And if I don't buy them, I get annoyed that I don't have the ones that I want, but I'm not going to fall down that rabbit hole because that could get dangerous.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I kind of feel sad that now to think about it, that most of my Transformer toys are completely lost to the void of time.
Yeah, mine. I didn't have many. I had some, but I think that we had gotten rid of those in like a garage sale or something. I don't think I minded at the time, but now it's kind of like, The only one I still have is Omega Supreme, which is a pretty cool one to have.
Yeah, I used to have some, like let's say a handful.
It's missing a small piece
of Transformer toys when I was a kid, and I think same thing, garage sale. And I think at that time I'm like, whatever, these I can let go of. But then the me now is like, Dan, you were an idiot. Especially because I had one of the older Seekers, one of the cone heads that was metal. Like it was one of the old, like the really old ones that I think I got from someone else. And I'm like really annoyed that I let that one go.
If I may just interject with that, like my experience with Transformers, like I used to have a toy that was basically 4 moon buggies that you could combine 2 and 2 into a robot. There was a time that there was a little line of very, very small Transformers that like the entire toy was big as like your thumb, or like the last segment of your thumb. And one of them was like this little trucks and these sports cars, and they literally was like you could transform them in 2 moves. I used to have I also had sort of these Chinese knockoff toys, which was pretty cool. Like it was a sport car and a fighter jet, and you could turn them into a robot or combine them into one robot. But I think one of them got lost. So
yeah, the only combiners I ever had were you know Devastator.
I had Devastator.
Yeah.
Yep.
I wish I had Devastator.
I had Devastator.
I had the dump truck and the I forget, like I guess it's called the crane with a long arm with the hook on it. Like I had those two.
Excavator. It's an excavator.
Maybe that's the one. Yeah, and so those two could actually combine because I think one of them was a torso and the dump truck was like a leg or something. But like that's all I had.
Yeah, I managed to have
separately.
All 6 spots that transform into Devastator, and that was also sold at the garage sale.
Super cool. Oh, that's a shame.
I've been thinking of picking
I kind of feel your pain on that one.
One Transformers I saw in the toy store was Skylinks, which was like some sort of carrier jet or something like that could turn into a sort of Griffon, which was pretty cool because you rarely see that. Everything seemed to turn into a humanoid robot and or vehicle, and I kind of like I wish one of the Predacons would have been like they turned from like mythical animal to vehicle, because that would be fucking dope.
So instead of them just turning from humanoid to animal, you wish that there were more animals to vehicles.
Yeah, that would be dope.
That'd be pretty cool.
That was actually one thing. That was actually one thing I thought was cool about Omega Supreme. Like I know more Transformers do this now, but he was the only one I'd ever heard of at the time that actually had 3 transformations. Because one of them was a space station, which is weird if you think about it.
Omega Supreme's interesting.
Robot, then there was Tank.
Omega Supreme's interesting too because he doesn't just have 3 transformations. If I'm correct, he had 2 pieces that he transformed into something different.
Omega Supreme is the giant sort of
battleship. He's one of the bases.
Yeah.
Because
like pieces that were on his back to make like sort of wing looking things
Yeah.
that weren't actually wings came off and were like a track for the little tank to run around on, and there would be like a rocket ship that was formed from his arms. Or if you took the rocket ship apart and you made him into a robot, then like the top of the rocket, the cone part, would be like the gun arm, and the tripod part of the rocket would be like his claw hand. I thought that was pretty rad. And it was actually battery operated too.
Nice.
Not that you needed the batteries, but like if you had the batteries, then you could kind of shuffle forward a little bit as a robot or roll forward as a tank. I thought that was pretty rad.
That's fucking dope.
Yeah, that was something I think my mom probably picked up at a garage sale or something like that, because like I actually got a bunch of stuff, or not a garage sale, at like a flea market, because I actually got a bunch of my like little action figure toys at flea markets back in the day. Like I have a whole bunch of Ninja Turtles figures, but like missing their accessories, like their weapons or stuff, because they were like dirt freaking cheap at like flea markets, and it was always cool to like find them there. I think I only ever bought at the store like 2 or 3 Turtles toys.
Getting back to the tidal wave Decepticon, I saw that too in it's a sort of antique sales, but it's sort of a flea market. Like people sell their old stuff, which includes from like a toy robot to like old military bayonets to old China.
Oh yeah, you never know what. Depending on who it is, they could sell anything. Like I got some old Dungeons and Dragons books from places.
Yeah,
like
you
that.
can find those too. It's like it basically takes up the entire almost an entire segment of the main street when that comes around. It's fucking fantastic.
For garage sales, yeah, those are fun.
It's not a garage sale. It's more like it's a antique sale.
Oh, okay. It's like an event. Okay, because
every month first Sunday.
Yeah, okay, that's kind of like the one I'm talking about. Like, you drive over to this location where there's a flea market that shows up I think it is, like, just Sunday. And
all right.
It's a pretty good time, yeah.
Okay.
So, otherwise, though, do you guys have anything else you want to add about any of these topics here?
Nope.
I miss old school Transformer toys.
Yeah,
no kidding.
Pyro? You too.
You can't sell some of those today. You know, when Megatron would turn into like a gun instead of a tank. It's a pistol.
It was a Ruger pistol on that. An old Ruger.
Are you serious? Jesus, I didn't know it was based on a particular type.
It is.
I think like it's kind of looked like a combination of an old German Luger and a V-Zapper, an old school.
The
Zapper gun.
It was just called the Nintendo Zapper. That's right. Yeah.
Also, if you notice,
they got the orange ones, but the old ones were straight gray.
Yeah, if you notice, Megatron's helmet looks like a German descent warrior or something.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so the original Megatron is based off of Walter P-38.
All right.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of funny. But anyway, other than that, though, you guys have anything else to bring up?
Nope.
Nope.
Alrighty then. Well, that's the show for this week. So please remember to subscribe to the Corrective Consciousness YouTube and Soundcloud pages, and while there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps us promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement keeps the show going. You can also catch us on Tuesday for our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the podcast about our lives and pop culture. And finally, you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, or even selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
And you can find me as PyroJackFrost or Cloud08540 on various gaming media sites.
And you can find me on Skype, Steam, as Dracologist, and you can find me on the Lair of the Crocosquirrel in Discord.
Alrighty then. And of course, Vice the Bold was not here. You could find him on pretty much anything as Vice the Bold, all one word. VYSETHEBOLD. So once again, that is the show. Thank you all for listening. Until next time, everyone.
Goodbye, everybody.
Good evening.